Your faith has made you well. Friends, please be seated. 12 years. 12 years of being a beloved child in a family that adores you. In a neighborhood that you ran and played in, friends that would come over to your house and bake bread with you, back alleys that you would run through when parents weren't watching. 12 years of being adored by your parents, loved, cared for, fed, clothed. Maybe siblings that you loved and hated all at the same time. 12 years. And then you get sick. You get sick and you're stuck in bed for a long time. And it doesn't look good. Doctors have come to visit you and you are not getting better. Your mother is by your bedside holding your hand and offering you wet, cool cloths. And your father is pacing back and forth outside the door. Friends have gathered, you hear their voices, but they're not in the room with you. You can hear your little brother running in that back alley without you. And your father pacing back and forth, a respected man and a leader who has plenty of money and cachet in your world, who has brought in all that he can, the friends, the doctors, maybe the quacks, who are going to come in and try to make you better. Your father finally decides that he's going to do something that jeopardizes his position. That's how much he loves you. He is a leader of a synagogue, and he is going to go find this rabble-rousing, wandering rabbi who, it is rumored, heals people. And so he does. Now, no leader goes by himself. Surely he has some friends and servants following him, and as he makes his way across the town towards this crowd of people gathering on a shore, the way parts before him, because he is a leader of the synagogue. Where he goes, people make way. And he does what a leader does in front of another leader from whom he needs a favor. He throws himself on the ground and he says, "Come heal my daughter." With every expectation that Jesus will do so. And Jesus does. Jairus gets up. He begins to walk back home, Jesus in tow. People crowding around, and everybody is going to watch this one. Right? Leader of the synagogue has come to check out rabble-rousing rabbi, to have his daughter healed. Everybody is following along. The crowd is pressing in, and if you have ever traveled in parts of the world that are not influenced by Northern Europeans who have a very extensive sense of personal space, you will know exactly what it's like. Bumping shoulders, bumping elbows. Someone comes the other direction, slaps your shoulder, and you fit. The crowd is flowing and pushing you along. Jesus couldn't stop and turn around if he wanted to. 12 years. 12 years of being sick. 12 years of bleeding. A hemorrhage that will not stop. 12 years of asking for doctors. 12 years of taking the money that you have and going to the legit doctor and saying, help me out. That family practice physician that has been a part of your family for years. And they try some things. They prescribe you some ibuprofen for the cramps. They suggest you try a menstrual cup. All the things that you try, and it doesn't work. And so you think, well, I've done the good, legit Western medicine doctor. I'm going to go for the naturopath now. And they prescribe you some herbal things, which, of course, takes some more money because herbal remedies aren't free. They have to go be made and compounded at your local pharmacy herbalist/witch. She compiles them for you, compounds them for you, take them, and you know what? You wake up one morning and everything's great, and you're like, yes, and the next morning it's back, heavier. That menstrual cup isn't doing you such a great job anymore. And so then you start going to the back alley doctors. Homeopathic medication, just so you know, as a side note, I don't believe in homeopathy, and yet it actually works for me, so figure that out. Homeopathic medication, crystals, whatever possible thing could help you. You have no more money. When a doctor sees you, they turn the other way because you're going to ask them, hey, help me out, and you do not have an answer for them, and you as the doctor are tired of that. 12 years. 12 years of watching your friends be supportive and going to the doctor with you, and then kind of, they got busy, and they're not really going to the doctor with you anymore. And now they, too, don't want to look you in the eye because they don't have money to help you, and surely there must be something wrong with you if you have been bleeding this long. 12 years of bleeding in a culture where to bleed is to be set aside, set apart, unclean, untouchable. 12 years of your family slowly trickling away, your friends trickling away and deserting you. 12 years of people stepping over you as you sit against the side of a building because your body is too tired from its lack of blood to make it to the end of the block. 12 years of people looking at your dirty clothes hanging on you like sackcloth because surely you've lost weight. Nothing you had 12 years ago fits. What you had is worn out. You don't have money for clothing. You're wearing whatever bits and pieces you could find. 12 years of people looking at you and wrinkling their nose because you stink. 12 years of people being irritated that you're in the way. 12 years of people calling you names and telling you that you just need to work harder. You need to listen to your doctors. You probably need to stop using whatever drugs are making you do this. 12 years. And then you hear about this rabble-rousing rabbi that has shown up on the shores of your town, and you do the unthinkable. You make your way into a crowd. This woman doesn't belong in a crowd. This woman is like a little COVID contagion, a whirlwind walking through people. And you know that people are like, oh, what are you doing here? You make your way through the crowd, and you are practiced at this point at trying to make yourself somewhat unobservable, and you make it all the way to this rabbi, and from behind, unseen, as he is rushing towards the house of a leader of your community, a leader that does not make eye contact with you, that hasn't seen you in church in ages because you're not allowed to be there, you come up behind him and you touch him. And you feel it. Any here who have known what it is to be sick in their bodies knows that moment when the tide changes. Our bodies talk to us. You know when, okay, this is different. And she is so grateful, and she is going to sink back into that crowd, get out of this place that has been such a danger for her, surrounded by people who do not want her there and do not believe that she should be there. And to your horror, the rabbi stops. And he says probably the most ridiculous thing possible. Who touched me? Remember, in a crowd of people headed in one direction, how do you know who touched you? Who didn't touch you? The disciples look at him and think, what are you talking about? What do you mean, who touched you? Look around you, Jesus. Besides, it doesn't matter. We have somewhere to go. We have somewhere to be. You stopped. And Jesus says, who touched me? And the woman, realizing she cannot get away, says, I did, and then tells him everything. 12 years of everything is a lot. 12 years of everything isn't we're going to have a little chat on the street corner while you're on the way to more important business. 12 years of everything is, let's sit down and have a beer and tell me all that happened. The doctors that tried and failed, the doctors that didn't bother to try anymore because they knew they would fail, the quacks and the crazies, the herbalists and the witches, everybody that you went to in the hopes that somebody would help you. The family that loved you and left you. The friends that just wouldn't look you in the eye anymore because they didn't know how to help you and they were just too ashamed and embarrassed about their own inability, and so they just went the other way. They crossed the street. What it felt like for 12 years to not be welcome in church. 12 years of people stepping over you. It all pours out, and Jesus just listens. And as he listens, he sees that this woman, who knows that she does not deserve this. Nobody deserves 12 years of sickness. Nobody deserves 12 years of being stepped over, of being glared at, snarled at, or ignored. Nobody deserves that. We live in a culture where we think people deserve that. We live in a culture that thinks that if you're leaning up against a building, if your clothing isn't clean, if you didn't finish school, if you eat the wrong things, if you take the wrong substances, you probably deserve it. It's something you did in your life, and you just needed to make some different choices. Come on, folks. Just choose differently. We live in a culture that doesn't have purity laws in the same way ancient Israel had them, but there are people who deserve health care and people who don't in our culture. There are people who deserve housing and there are people who don't. There are people who deserve a job and people who don't. We have just as much separation and distinction based in a philosophy and a theology of deserving as did ancient Israel. And we are just as ready to step over the person on the sidewalk or under our porches. We are just as ready to assume that they must have just done something wrong as any one of the people who encountered this woman. Purity culture is not just for the ancient world. And yet Jesus hears in her story a different kind of purity. A purity of faith that understands there is enough of Jesus to go around. That all she needs to do, even after 12 years of doing and trying, all she needs to do is touch the robe of this man and she will be healed. She is persistent, she is determined, she is stubborn. She is the person who insists that she can and should be fed, that she should not be treated differently because her color is not white. She is the person who demands that there is enough food to go around and we should share it, that there is enough housing to go around and that we should share it, that there is enough health to go around and that everybody needs it. She is that person who is irritating and obnoxious, and she takes Jesus' time to tell her whole story. And Jesus listens, and the disciples are so agitated, and Jairus at this point has never felt quite so disrespected. And then the worst thing that could happen happens. All those people gathered at his house, a couple of them come over and they say, "Don't bother him anymore, your daughter's dead." The mother is grieving and holding her dead daughter and weeping, and the friends outside are weeping and wailing, and Jairus is standing surrounded by people that he doesn't know and that aren't his friends, stuck in a dusty path with a rabble-rousing rabbi that stopped, that didn't bother to finish what he started. Jesus hears and says, "It's okay, just believe." Jairus doesn't walk away. He doesn't bail. He continues to escort Jesus to his home, where Jesus is met with weeping and wailing, and when he asks the kind of silly question, "Why are you weeping and wailing?" people laugh at him. This isn't a laugh like, "Ha ha, that was funny." This is a laugh like, "Ha ha, are you an idiot? What's wrong with you? You did this. She was sick, but she wasn't dead, and now she's dead. And she's dead because you didn't bother to get here in time. If you had come when we asked, she might be alive." That's the kind of laugh this is. And Jesus sends them out. Maybe he sends them out because he doesn't need their laughter and their scorn, because he doesn't need their weeping and wailing. Maybe Jesus is a little bit frustrated with them. Takes 3 of his besties in with mom and dad and raises her up. The same word used for Jesus' own resurrection. God walks into that room and raises up that little girl. and then says, she's hungry. So often we read this as two distinct stories, but Mark puts them together for a reason. Because the problem in the story is not simply the health of these two women, these two daughters of God, these two beloved children. It is also the story of a world where one of them would have been healed and the other would have been ignored. Because that is the world of ancient Rome and ancient Israel. It is our world. We prioritize all the time those who will be healed, those who will be cared for, and we view as collateral damage of our society and its success those who die on the streets, who die in homes alone. Every one of us in this room has experienced a moment when we feel truly alone. Alone with our bodies and their failures, alone with our minds and its failure, alone and away from our relationships. And my guess is at some point, at every time when you feel alone, you think, God, what did I do to deserve this? Did I say the wrong thing at lunch? Did I not wear the right clothing? Did I not love the right person? God, what have I done? But in the world that Jesus is calling us to, everybody has enough. Nobody has too much and nobody has too little. Everybody has enough. And we are called to be the kind of people that look not only at our community, this parish, but at the community that we are in and the world we are in, and ensure that everybody has enough. I know a number of you have dipped your toes back into the political fiasco that will be the next 6 months. Some of us with a lot of grief, some of us perhaps with less grief. There is one criteria for evaluating a political person, a political party, a political decision. Are the vulnerable cared for? That's it. And caring for the vulnerable certainly crosses political parties, and not caring for the vulnerable crosses political parties. But as we as Christians called not just to make this community a place of care for the vulnerable, but to advocate for a world in which there are no 12-year-old little girls who are loved deeply and 12-year-old women who are deserted and left alone, as we are called to participate in that, our call is always to ask the question, how do we ensure that the vulnerable are cared for? Because the healing of that 12-year-old little girl in the Gospel of Mark includes the healing of that woman sick for 12 years. 12 is the number of the nations of Israel. Jesus is not just commenting here on 12 years of life, but a way of organizing our world and our society that ensures that everybody is cared for, and we can disagree on how to do that. But what we cannot, as Christians, disagree on is that we should do it. It is the call of the gospel. It is the life and the reign of Jesus into which we are called and baptized, that we as a community strive to live out in this beautiful liturgy where beauty is a part of how we love and care for the world, and where compassion and healing and kindness and patience and listening is how we ensure that every vulnerable person has what they need, that every person can be called a son, a daughter, a child of God. Amen.